Hoodie is giving. You should get it. YOLO.
Thanks to the Chase mobile app, your kid can shop independently while you keep an eye on their spending. So you can go from...
We can be twinsies.
...to...
How was shopping? Saw you stayed on budget.
Thanks, Mom.
Freedom for kids, control for parents. That's family banking from Chase.
Account subject to approval. Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank N.A. Member FDIC.
Lowe's knows that your business is built on speed and trust. That's why the Lowe's ProDesk is here to get you what you need the moment you need it. We'll help you plan your project, calculate your materials, and pivot when your job takes an unexpected turn. And with our Pro-only checkout and dedicated Pro parking, you have what you need to tackle your job and be back on the job in no time. Just visit us at the ProDesk. Lowe's knows pros. We help. You save.
Jeremy White here for FanDuel Sportsbook, official partner of WGR.
A Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update.
Buffalo Bills made 3 signings official today. Safety Derek Forrest, running back Darrington Evans, and edge rusher Joey Bosa, all signing 1-year contracts. And we did also hear from Forrest, who spoke on the nerves he felt heading into this year's free agency.
I just was very nervous. I didn't know what was going to go on. I know that last year I didn't have much film, so things were in the air for me, and I'm glad that I landed here.
For more on all of the Bills signings, we have pieces up at our website, WGR550.com. Around the NFL, the Steelers have added a quarterback. Mason Rudolph, he returns to Pittsburgh on a 2-year, $8 million contract. $4.5 million of that is guaranteed. And then running back Raheem Mostert is signing with Las Vegas on a 1-year, $2.1 million deal. Over to the Sabres, they did fall hard last night to Detroit. For more on that loss, Paul Hamilton has a piece up at our website, WGR550.com. They're next in action on Saturday when they host Las Vegas. To the PGA Tour, the Players is underway at TPC Sawgrass. Lucas Glover holds the early lead following a 6-under first round. And then in college basketball, UB women, they advanced yesterday to the MAC semifinal. They're going to take on Toledo tomorrow at 12:30. And then earlier today, St. Bonaventure now is going to take on the number 1 seed in the A10 VCU at 11:30 tomorrow in the quarterfinals after they took down Duquesne 64-59. It's Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of business. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
They have this Panther sound effect that is just the cheesiest, stupidest sounding thing. Big voice guy going, Panther goal scored by Sam Reinhart. Where'd you get that thing?
I trapped it. Been keeping it in my bathroom at the motel, feeding it old pizza.
It's Mike Schopp.
If you're calm, that wondrous big cat will be calm too. But if you're scared, that beautiful death machine will do what God made it to do. Namely, eat you with a smile on its face.
And the Bulldog. On WGR Sports Radio 550.
All right, glad to say it. Back on my feet after yesterday's threats and pretty much beating.
What
for suggesting that maybe
the start of the show yesterday.
The Bills should
that's right.
Take it slow with Joey Bosa.
Yeah.
You threatened violence at one point. I didn't take it seriously, but other people did. And I decided not to pursue it.
Okay. Well, do I have to... I have a... You got a sheet of paper I can rustle? I have
many.
I have a... very, very thoughtfully worded statement to read on the matter.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
If anyone was offended, that's it.
I apologize.
That's it. I apologize. Only if you were offended. Otherwise,
no, right. That's how you do it.
Otherwise, get out of my hair.
That's when you know someone doesn't mean it.
I don't have any time for you, or doesn't realize that what they said was actually offensive.
Yeah, they just don't get it or they don't mean it. Like,
yeah.
If it comes with the qualifier, if you were offended, I'm deeply sorry.
Right.
But, that's not the same as just saying you're sorry.
Right.
It's only if you're upset. If you're upset, I don't want you to be upset. So I'm glad things are better for myself.
Me too. I didn't realize I should know better. All of our actions have consequences. Mm-hmm. I almost said that backwards. That would have made no sense. All of our consequences have actions.
I guess I feel a little bit fortunate that...
Can we start over?
You didn't have just sort of, that I didn't compound the problem when I suggested that the Sabres would beat Washington in the playoff series. Or it'd be, kind of a coin flip for me.
Yeah.
You didn't like that either.
No, I don't think that's very realistic.
Unfortunately, for all of us, we will never know. It will not be happening.
No.
So there's no way to know if,
Wait, they're not mathematically eliminated, are they?
I guess not. I guess I would have heard if they were. They're not, though, right?
I don't see a little X by there.
You got to go through all the other teams' schedules because they might all play each other enough times that they might be close. Yeah. Closer than it might just sort of look on the surface to being mathematically eliminated. But, you've got a kind of a Washington team that's got the lucky stuff right. Shooting percentage, they're first. Save percentage, they're fourth, I think. Usually a recipe for disaster in the playoffs after great regular seasons, and enough people still, even in 2025, accept you as like a great team that it's still funny when those teams lose, and I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, I'm not at all predicting they're going to go on a run in the playoffs. I just think they would kick the crap out of the Sabres.
Well, Detroit did.
Right. Part of the reason why I think that.
I guess I have to go a little slower today with stuff about how the Sabres, there's a good team in there. I mean, after that game. But anyway, I'm not trying to get into a conversation on them because what's left to say. I was thinking about it this way, though.
They did defend one another last night, so I think we should be happy, right? That's good.
Oh, yeah. Thrilled.
At least some of them did.
Mostly, right.
Yeah.
The thing I was going for here that's obviously really, really strained effort is, well, it'd be nice to know what a series would look like, Washington and Buffalo, just to be able to know, right? But we won't be able to know that, so your opinion is going to just be the best we can do. Here's something else I would like to be able to know, and I think it's unlikely that we will get this, but there's a chance of it, and a part of me, I have to be honest, is kind of hoping what the Bills would be without Cook. Like, if this went all the way, which it probably won't, because they always get these things done.
Yeah.
If this went all the way, I'm not playing for less than top 5 money, whatever it is he would need, and the Bills just held firm. What would happen?
Like, assuming he doesn't come in. Like, he just says, I'm staying home, and that rides through the entire season.
Let's just
doomsday scenario.
Let's just talk it
out. Right. I also don't think that that's going to be the outcome. But I do think it's possible that the Bills draw a hard line because they have the footing to do so. They have another year on a contract and a franchise tag if they want it. Like, they don't have to be compelled to do something. They could just for harmony's sake. Anyway, if it got to that doomsday scenario,
how doom is the doomsday?
I don't think it's even cloudy.
I don't think it's anything.
I think they're probably, they probably don't score. They don't have a running back who scores 16 rushing touchdowns, but Josh Allen probably throws for 6 or 8 more and runs for 4 more, and you're probably home. And whoever the running back is chips in with 6 or 8, and they don't shoot touchdowns.
There you go. Next question. This seems really important.
That's not a very hard puzzle for me to do, but I'm coming. We're coming from a very similar place on that. Part of the reason why you balk at paying guys the top dollar as it is because you probably can find a guy that's going to get you similar results. And I know there's plenty of things currently in the league. This was an easier thing to say before last offseason, and even now early in this offseason with the Eagles doubling down on Barkley and giving him even a raise to, I guess, reward him for the great season he had last year. I still don't think their results would have been vastly different with, I don't know, one of the running backs they had before they got Saquon Barkley running the ball. I don't think that guy would have gotten close to 2,000 yards probably, but I don't know how much it really mattered.
I think he's saying that. I think that's a team where it'd be harder for me to assume they would be as good offensively. So that's like a little bit different for me because, Hurts is not Allen. Their offensive line has been great. He's good. Brown and Devontae Smith are good. But you saw what the difference was 2023 to 2024 for Philadelphia. And they went from a team that, what's the problem? Their season kind of fell apart. Not to say, that's all on DeAndre Swift.
Right. That's what I'm waiting to say is I don't think that had anything to do with who the running back was, but okay.
But sure. They didn't. But Barkley afforded them, just the big plays he made. He did all that with the tush push still being a thing, and he could have scored 10 more touchdowns without that if he's on a team where the quarterback isn't, automatic on 1 yard to go plays. So running backs don't matter. Is it just completely black and white? It's not completely black and white. That was a team, I think, that got better. You have to say that. You have to say that they got better for having him and that it was a meaningful difference. Maybe do they win a Super Bowl anyway? Maybe they do. Best roster in the league, right? But he was the number one part of that. I think the story went last year. So
I don't know. I still want to push back at that story. I don't, and I love stories.
You do,
and I love running backs. I just don't. I don't know, man. It is an important distinction that their quarterback is not the passer that Allen is. Although he's had plenty of monstrous games, including in the Super Bowl they lost 3 years ago. Hurts. So he's definitely excellent and an MVP type player candidate anyway. But yeah, I guess you could argue they have more business being a run-centric team than a team with Josh Allen as their quarterback. And that's a part of the reason why I'm not crazy about paying a running back the top of the market.
So
I never have been.
You wouldn't, though, go as far as to say, like to my kind of like, again, strained premise, things that we'll never see, but we wish we could see. You don't want to see this happen. You don't want to find out.
No.
A part of me does. Like, let's just see what happens. Some of that, I think,
I have a curiosity about it, too, but you're not saying you're rooting for it. I'm not rooting for it. But there's a curiosity there. Sure. Anything that you say as regularly as we both have said things like this on the radio, you want to see them taken out for a spin.
I guess. If they do, they do.
To some extent. Like, does that work? Am I falling face first in it? Or is this, can I peek out and go like, yeah, look, I kind of thought that would happen.
Right. Well, there's that little ego element to it.
Right. That's the extent of the curiosity for me, I guess.
Part of it for me is that it's like pre-draft season, and I'm running all these fantasy drafts and having the Monday podcast where we're talking about a lot of these rookies, the combine that just happened, and I'd kind of like to find out if whoever you want. It wouldn't be like a top 2 round pick. The Bills would never do that. Even without Cook, I think they would probably not do that. Maybe, but they have him. So they're not going to draft Omari and Hampton.
Well, they did
at
draft
30.
They did draft Cook in the second round.
They drafted Cook in the second round where they didn't have somebody that had done what Cook has done.
Right.
So but that's right. That was the very end of the second round. So I don't know. Like, I would doubt that, but maybe. The guys that, though, like Baishal Tutin had this athletic freak show combine, and I'd never heard of him before. And now I kind of just wonder if maybe there's somebody sitting there in the 4th round that would just come in over the top. I kind of thought, having said that, last year that Ray Davis had some chance at that. Not right away. There was no way after the season prior that Cook wasn't going to be their number 1 going into the season. But maybe, like, if he dropped the ball again and just was not like a red zone guy or anything, two rushing touchdowns the year before, maybe Davis would come in and really look good and work his way into, like, the lead role. That did not happen.
No,
Cook gave their no chance for that.
I don't know that I ever said it in exactly this way. I don't know. There's no need to say it because it turned out to be wrong. But if I had said it this way, With Cook coming off of that season he'd had and the style of runner Davis was described as, I might have thought Davis would end up with more rushing touchdowns than James Cook last year. Yeah. They're going to use him at the goal line. He's the hard inside guy, and like that might be the role they drafted him for, and it obviously did not happen. So I agree. I thought the door was maybe open. I think last year. Now I don't. Well, now it could. The only reason it could be is if the Bills have a plan in mind that includes drafting one of these guys on Saturday. Because I think with the depth of the running back class, the way it's being described, I mean, it obviously would depend on which guy they landed on. All these guys are not the same. But I would trust they could find someone that they feel like matches somewhat anyway Cook's skill set. And if they wanted to do that, like that's a power move. That's a, oh yeah, tweet a few more times about how much money you want. I'm not. Again, that's like a step towards the doomsday scenario, and I don't predict that they will do that, but they could. Like, they have not said anything that indicates that they're the least bit bothered by how any of this has gone so far.
No, and they wouldn't.
And that's to their credit. The first chance we'd see of them demonstrating that they're not happy with how this has gone so far would be that. Like they draft a guy, because they just re-signed Johnson. They've got Cook from last year, Davis from last year, Cook presumably, and here's Darrington Evans too. Like their running back room looks like it's all set. So if they drafted someone, like really more all set than I would have said last year, because last year at this time with Ty Johnson on the roster, he had not really shown out to the extent that he did last year. Like I feel like he's a known and to be valued commodity now for them. Like a role he plays, I think that's written in ink that he'll be that guy for them.
And what is that again?
Third down, 2-minute drill, out of the backfield guy, pass blocking. Like he's their passing down running back, I think, even ahead of Davis. So
man, they got 28 touchdowns from Cook, Davis, and Johnson.
If they were to add someone, I think and I don't have to be right about this, I'm assuming a lot here, but if they drafted another running back, the alarms would go off. I think the chief reason they'd be doing that is they're preparing to go to the mattresses with Cook.
I don't know. Would it? Depends on when. If they did that in the 4th round, would you feel that way? I mean, they've drafted one every year, right? Singletary, Moss, Cook, Davis.
Right, but they've never had as clearly defined roles for the guys that are already on the roster. Cook has ascended to being the number 1 running back. Johnson has taken hold of that 1B, whatever, third down role. They've got Davis as the primary backup. I think other years they were still searching. They were always searching for this pass-catching guy. They traded for Nyheim Hines. They tried to sign McKissick. Is that the name?
Yeah.
Okay. And they ended up drafting Cook that year, right? Does that all line up?
I think so.
Yeah. So I just think they're more all set now than they've ever been since Bean and McDermott have been here. Because Cook has outperformed Singletary pretty comfortably, I'd say.
So what's the cutoff? Like they have 2 picks. Yesterday they added picks. If you have 2 picks in the 4th round, if they did that, that's for you like the freak out sign?
Yeah.
What about pick 169? They have 3 picks between 169 and 177. I would kind of predict that one of those would be a running back if they hadn't picked one already. Just because it's so deep this year at that position, and, why not? Whatever positions you're drafting then anyway are, break glass kind of picks, and just you're hoping you get a Benford or somebody out of that. So with the extra picks especially, or round 6, because I do think running back is this way. It might be the only position in the sport where if you drafted a guy in the 5th round, you could talk about him as your starter.
Yeah.
Tampa did it. I mean, they had Rachaad White, who the analytics people didn't like him. Like, he wasn't efficient, but he produced for Tampa 2 years ago. They draft Bucky Irving on Saturday. I don't know what round it was exactly, but 4 or 5, maybe 5. They drafted him on Saturday, and he just was great. And by week 10 or something, Rachaad White was forgotten. So, and that team went to the playoffs. So I think this year is deeper than last year was supposed to be. Tyrone Tracy for the Giants was this, just took over right away. The Giants backfield, not a good team though. Is there another position where if you drafted a guy there, you could really talk about him starting as a rookie? I mean,
I don't think so.
No,
I don't think so. And I shouldn't be so quick to dismiss the idea that they could find. I mean, what do they really owe Ty Johnson? I mean, they re-signed him to a 2-year contract, but if they found a guy where you're talking about, or I guess even in the 4th round, okay, let's make it the Ray Davis round if you want, that they like the skill set and there's great value there, and maybe he could win the job that Ty Johnson is doing for us. They could do that and not have it be a line in the sand, like some definitive step toward we're going to fight tooth and nail for James Cook. But it will be hard, I think, to ignore that part of it if they don't settle the Cook thing by the draft. But they could bring competition in for any of these other spots too. That's not unfair. I'm probably overreacting to the idea of them drafting a running back at all.
Dylan Sampson, 4.42, Tennessee.
Talk to me, baby.
Dylan Sampson, I am.
All right.
Beischel Tootin. There's so many of these. I am immersed in that world right now, and I'm probably being sort of shaped by these names. I talk to Davis and Pat every Monday on ADP chasing, and they're like, "Oh, Harvey. Who's Harvey? RJ Harvey? They like. There's another guy with 4 letters. I'll get it." Just there's all these guys. They're so excited about athletic profile, what they did in college, and everything else. And everybody kind of says, Chris Trapasso included, that this year is deeper. So why would the Bills not, because of James Cook, who's not that big. He's 3 years in now. He wants $15 million a year. Davis was fine. He wasn't great.
No.
He was fine. Johnson is good in a smaller role. I get that, logic. But I've got 10 draft picks. And maybe there's room for a rookie to take a crack at it. Devin Neal.
What have you heard about Ollie Gordon II?
Mixed.
All right. He's big. That's why I mentioned him. Because, But
these guys are going on Saturday.
Are you right? If you're looking for a different style, right, a different body, a different back, then, a bigger guy is maybe some idea to consider. I don't know. That's why I even mentioned him. I don't know anything about him other than I see he's 6'1", 226.
All right.
That's enormous compared to the running backs the Bills already have.
Jordan James is one where I think maybe he was productive but didn't do as well in Indy. Anyway, the names really don't matter. The body types matter more than the names, probably, what you're looking for. I'd love to know what the result would be. Like you don't want an injury or anything. I'm not saying that.
Mm-hmm.
But if Cook really does want to challenge me, I'm up for it. I mean, we say all the time the Bills have not had like these sticky sort of contract issues, but that's not to say they couldn't or shouldn't. It's not to say they should avoid them at all costs. It's not to say that they shouldn't, have their principles and
right. If they really don't believe in it, then they shouldn't do it.
Right. That's a good
they should,
motto in life.
They should not sign a contract with the player that they, should it hurt a little? Yeah, probably. You're not going to get everyone you want at exactly the price you want. So there's got to be some bend there. But you absolutely, I'd be stunned if they signed any guy, to a contract where they're like, man, I can't believe we went there. I just can't imagine them doing that. So if Cook leads them to that position, then I guess we'll find out exactly how steadfast they would be in their beliefs, if they even have those beliefs. I mean, we don't know. They've never had a running back tested, really. I mean, not only have they not had any problems with any players, but like Devin Singletary never rose to the level where you'd be like the team even. I'm sure guys on the team loved Devin Singletary and how hard he worked and all the stuff. But he was not so important that you'd look around the room and go like, man, I can't believe we didn't take care of that guy. Cook, I think, is there. I think guys on the team would be looking at each other. I don't know about this. Why did we not do right by this guy? So, they could. This is some level of a test.
Yeah, and I'll be a little bit bummed if it's just like tomorrow we walk in here. Oh, it's done. I want to see. I want to play it out a little bit. It's too smooth this way. Just pay everybody. Right now, this year in free agency, everybody's got all the money. Here's $36 million to Josh Palmer. Like, that's the kind of year it is. So why wouldn't Cook just sort of be in line to get his piece? Sal Capaccio coming up next. Some of the new players, if not all of them, are speaking out at the stadium today. We'll run through that with Sal, maybe talk about this topic also. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here at 4, Sam Panayotovich And later on, Brian Koziol will join us a little bit on the Sabres and also the Players' Championship. What is more spring is here than the Players' Championship if you follow golf, and it just probably helps that it's nice out here. I'm sure I've watched this tournament at home when it was snowing out before.
Yes, me too.
But not so much this weekend. Thanks for listening. Again, Sal next here on WGR.
We know you can't hear.
To experience something new, something different. We have a chance to do something special, and Josh texted me that, that if we do what we set out to do, we could really be immortalized in this town, and, that's what it's all about, is winning a championship, and that's, I think, why people are here.
Joey Bosa
is on the Bills now.
He's on the Bills. I love all these times where, like, the new guys get to the press conference and they're like, Josh texted me. Does he have everybody's number? Does Allen just does he go to the Bills for that number, or does he have is there like a book?
That's a great question. I'll bet it's just something PR does. Like someone over there or an assistant or whatever would new guy, depending on your profile. Like, I don't know that the safety from Washington gets Josh Allen's number, but you're a star in the league.
Poor guy.
I know, sorry, I just
Forrest
to single him out, but Palmer, a receiver, Bosa, a star in the league. You're at a certain level here. Yeah, here's the QB's digits. I think that's, or maybe Allen seeks that out and, doesn't ask for everyone's numbers, but goes to PR and says, hey, give me a number for this guy, and this guy. I want to reach out.
I bet, though, teams must have all the numbers. Like at the draft, they call the guy that they picked.
Right.
There's got to be like a spreadsheet, with every college player's phone number, right?
I wonder if they get special phones just for the teams, get special phones just for each draft, that they store all the players they're interested in that phone, and then afterward, that phone just is whatever. It's on a pile
somewhere. Somewhere is all the numbers.
Yeah.
Joey Bosa, got it right here. Yeah. Here's a text, and then just anybody can text him, or no? Maybe you just have to ask. I don't know. I don't know how that works, but there's always this gets said.
Yeah.
Josh texted me. Maybe they're friends.
That could be too, prior to even signing. But yeah, I don't think it's a hard thing to facilitate through the team.
No,
at all. So
when you're Allen,
right?
Yes. Hi, this is Reed Ferguson. I'd like to text Joey Bosa. Is Brandon in? That's what happens.
They hung up on me.
Hello? Sorry, Reed Ferguson. Nothing personal.
Hung up on me. Yeah, same.
Nothing personal.
Same as.
We're right to the long snapper.
Right.
Hi, this is Joey Camarda. I'd like to call Josh Palmer. Can that be something? Will you allow that? Well, Joey, you get 4 of these a year. You sure you want to use one up today? So Sal is out at the stadium. Joshua Palmer is speaking now, and when that wraps, Sal will jump on with us. Do we want Russell Wilson in Cleveland? Where he's visiting today, apparently?
Yeah, I don't mind. I don't know if there's a better spot for him. A spot. I'm not going to be worried about him wherever he goes. So, Cleveland's fine. Pittsburgh maybe would be better, if he ended up back in Pittsburgh.
For what?
Just
for them?
No, just for the rest of us. Okay. I think, are you a threat? Although, I don't know. They won a lot of games last year with him, didn't they? They win. How many games did they win?
Pittsburgh went 10-7.
10-7. Okay.
Fields was some of that.
Not really a lot, but yeah. I don't really. I got to say, short of the curiosity of Rodgers, I feel like everyone that's still out there is ineffectual.
Yeah.
I don't feel like anybody that lands any of these. Well, it's really Rodgers and Wilson at this point, right? Is there someone else?
There's Cousins, but he would have to be traded.
Right.
And the latest word is that he won't be. They owe him $10 million on Sunday if he's on the team. And the reporting on that has been that they're prepared to pay him.
Yeah. That seems smart. Well, okay, so even him. I don't feel like there's, oh no, the Steelers got blank. Oh no, the Giants got blank. Oh no, the Browns. It does not matter to me. I don't think any of these guys. Rodgers is probably the best of them, I think, but even he is not, to me, capable of playing at a high enough level to really be a threat, even with all the fancy new receiver and everything else in Pittsburgh.
Mason Rudolph to Pittsburgh today. And Mac Jones to San Francisco.
Finally.
2 quarterbacks who have started one playoff game against the Bills. Mason Rudolph and Mac Jones.
That's pretty incredible.
There are 25 quarterbacks who have started exactly one playoff game against the Bills. There are 7 who have started more than one.
Which do you want first?
I'd rather have the 7 than the 25.
The 25 could take a while.
Who are the 7 quarterbacks that have started more than one playoff game against Buffalo?
Dan Marino. Is the Super Bowl count as
Yes.
a playoff game? Okay,
Yes.
Troy Aikman.
Correct.
I need some more teams here. No. I was going to guess someone, but I had to talk myself out of it.
Can you say who?
Boomer.
Okay, no, that's one. You're right.
Right.
Boomer Nix. Oh, Boomer Esiason.
Boomer
Nix because he's older. Get it?
This is harder than I thought it would be.
I think there are 2 tough names, and the rest are pretty gettable. Well, maybe 3. But there's 2 you should have gotten by now that you haven't mentioned. Respectfully. Because they played them this year.
Oh. Okay, yeah, Lamar Jackson. Yeah, and Patrick Mahomes.
Right. Mahomes and Marino have 4 playoff games against the Bills, which is the most. The other 5 guys with more than one have exactly 2.
You can tell the way I started doing this was starting in the 90s. So I wasn't even thinking. I'm looking at the teams, and I'm not even thinking about the Chiefs or the Ravens.
I might have done the same thing.
I'm going, oh, Dan Marino, look at me. I'm old.
But, I think I would have done the same thing. 88 to 90 through 93, 6 seasons. The Bills were in the playoffs every year. They won at least one game every year but one. That's a dozen or so games or more, but really, the last 5 years is more than that.
Let's see, they beat the Steelers in the playoffs after the greatest comeback and then lost to the Steelers 2 years later. Are both of those Neil O'Donnell?
Yes.
Okay.
So you only have 2 more. Neil O'Donnell, right, 92 and 95, I think, seasons.
Right, that's right.
Both are in the other 2 that you haven't gotten yet are from the same years, same era. So, as it happens, 5 of the 7 names were from those years. You wouldn't have been, you weren't wrong to go back there.
There's probably 2 Jay Schraders in there.
No.
Okay. Oh, there's 2 Hostettlers in there.
Right.
Hostetler with the Raiders in the cold, icy game, right? In 93 season,
right,
and of course the 51-3. The Super Bowl. Sorry, Super Bowl 25. I'm thinking about Schrader again still.
Schrader was 51-3.
Right. So now there's 1 left.
Yep. Right in that same period.
Oh, Warren Moon.
7 quarterbacks have started multiple playoff games against the Bills.
88 and 92. Yeah.
Correct. Mahomes, Marino, Lamar Jackson, Neil O'Donnell, Hostetler, Aikman, and Warren Moon.
Okay, now everyone put your feet up as I list the other 25 who started exactly 1 playoff game against the Bills.
I'm looking at the list.
Jay Schrader.
Jay Schrader, correct.
Mark Rippon.
Yeah. Terry Bradshaw.
Okay, right, sure. Dan Fouts. Those were consecutive Bills playoff games. 74 and 80. Okay.
Or 81.
Bernie Kosar.
No, 80. Yep.
Steve McNair.
Music City Miracle.
Mark Brunell.
Yes.
Is Richard Todd the quarterback?
Yes.
The Jets in 81 or 80,
Yes,
whatever year that is?
81 wild card.
Okay. Is Chad Pennington the Dolphin quarterback in 98? When
No,
Flutie,
Marino.
It's Marino still? Oh, shoot. All right.
How about Joe Montana?
Right, of course, the Chiefs. Who's the Bengal quarterback in 81? Is Anderson?
Ken Anderson.
Ken Anderson? Okay. Wow. John Elway?
John Elway.
Deshaun Watson?
Yes.
Is there another? That's not how you're not ticking them off, are you here? How close are we?
You got most of them. I can name the ones you haven't mentioned.
Okay, why don't you go ahead and do that? I don't know. I can't think of another Steeler guy.
All right. There isn't another Steeler guy.
Okay, well,
working backward chronologically, Bo Nix.
Oh, right, sure.
Rudolph.
Yes,
we mentioned him. That's why
that's kind of where we started.
We started there. Burrow.
Oh, geez, yeah.
Skylar Thompson. Phillip Rivers, Blake Bortles. You said that. You said all these. Steve DeBerg. And then to the 60s. You got everybody else. Len Dawson, John Hadel, Tobin Rote, Babe Parilli. The Chargers had different starting quarterbacks those 2 years. Tobin Rote.
Those are some names there.
And John Hadel.
All right.
They wouldn't have gotten Babe Parilli. That's the 63 playoffs. I think the game's at Fenway Park.
All right.
Should we break? Or should we just keep going? Keep going. Oh, they love it when we just keep going.
They love it when we keep going. I think that's because we got Sal on the Western Hotline here.
Oh, yes. Let's not break now. Sal is with us. Sal, busy day. Busy day.
Right.
Yeah, very busy day. And, these things are always, you're kind of always at the whim of when they're happening, right? We don't really know because we're just like, hey, there's like, we're going to have these guys that the Bills are signing and sign their contracts, and you got to wait for them to get to town.
Mm-hmm.
They sign their contracts. They meet with coaches. They meet with teammates. They're walking by someone's office. They get stopped. So we never know when it's going to happen. But we just heard from pretty much every edition, I believe, except for Darrington Evans and Michael Hoyt. I don't know if Evans will talk to us at all. That might not be someone that they're going to trot out there. Hoyt will be tomorrow.
Most interesting comment. I like some of what I heard from Bosa.
Oh, my gosh. He was great. I had a Chargers reporter on, Fernando Ramirez, and he said Joey is great in front of a camera and microphone. He said, but he's super dry. His humor, he's got dry humor, and he's just this guy, like he's kind of deadpan, and that's exactly what you got today. So he was spot on. I mean, he said some funny things, but he said some things that just like the way he talks, it's kind of interesting. And listening to him, he was very, very much a straight shooter and just kind of revealed. And he said that. I love the quote I think the money quote of the day was, he said, Josh Allen texted him and said, if we do what we set out to do, we will be immortalized in this town.
I think that's right. Right? I mean, right? I mean, Allen's already well on his way, but, a Super Bowl obviously cements that, and everyone who is a part of it, even if they just got here, might become immediately statue eligible. All right, I'm exaggerating a little, but that's a great way to be immortalized, statue. I mean, I've said a few times, Sal, if they got to the Super Bowl and won it, there'd be a statue of the James Cook touchdown against the Chiefs, with the hand on the ground and extending the ball out. Like that'd be Bobby Orr scoring the goal against the St. Louis Blues for us. But it did, and now it's just a really cool play that we'll probably forget about.
How was Palmer?
Sorry, guys, just starting on my car. Palmer was very good. He was really just he was much more like, these guys, like their personalities show up a little bit. And he was much more soft-spoken, very thoughtful in what he said. He's from Canada. Sorry about that. He's from Canada. That's what happens. I get in my car and everything starts going haywire. Sorry. There you go. I like that 80s song. I had my 80s music on. Anyway, Palmer was very thoughtful. He's from Canada. He grew up there. His dad played college football in Canada, but then he moved to the United States. And ironically, I didn't know this until I went through the bios that the Bills sent out. He went to the same high school as Joey Bosa, St. Thomas Aquinas in Fort Lauderdale.
Florida.
He was teammates with Nick Bosa. How about that? Now, Joey, by the way, in case fans don't know, Joey Bosa is the cousin of Jake Kummerow. Joey Bosa's dad played for the Dolphins 87, 88, and 89. He talked about playing against, his dad played against Jim Kelly and, Thurman and those guys during those years, which is crazy. And, Palmer, spoke about their relationship and playing with Nick. He played with Nick in high school, and he played with Joey, the Chargers, and now Joey with the Bills. As far as just the way he spoke, he said his biggest thing he takes the most pride in is being able to run the entire route tree. And I thought that was interesting, just translating that to the football field and what the Bills need.
I really liked from him, I don't know if this would how many people this appeals to, but I like it when guys don't try to convince you or sort of pander or patronize the fan base. And Palmer being asked about, growing up in Canada, saying, I thought I was going to play basketball. I really wasn't a Bills fan. I like that. It's very easy to just come in here and just sort of, Bills Mafia, get me a table and all the stuff. And I'm not saying guys don't mean that when they do it, but I appreciate a guy that's willing to just be real. I really didn't pay attention to football when I was growing up in Brampton.
Yeah, he said he said, as you just mentioned, he was more geared towards basketball, and even in high school, that was kind of trending like that. He also said he doesn't really follow hockey very much. He's not a big hockey fan. He said that at the very end of the press conference when someone asked him. But he is a Raptors fan, and now he's playing for a football team whose minority owners include Vince Carter and Tracy McGrady.
Sal Capaccio on the West Her hotline. I wanted to ask you, we talked a little bit about the Cook situation here, if it can be called a situation, at the beginning of the show. About Ty Johnson, we really haven't gotten into that. It did happen that the Bills brought him back. So would you be, this was a debate we've had in here today, would you expect them to not draft a running back this year? Would you expect them to do it? They've done it every year. It's a deep class. They have 10 picks. What would it mean? Maybe it's just sort of down the middle, if kind of the way I'm looking at it, if they drafted a running back, say, in round 5.
It's a really good question, Mike, because if you're the prediction of their drafting a running back, I'm on the fence because I don't think they need to. I don't think it screams like a position they're going to do. But I wonder if they just want to have more insurance with Cook. And that might be why. And the reason I say that is they're literally at the exact same number and names, exactly, right now, of what they were going into training camp last year. There's no reason to draft a running back.
Right.
Unless maybe they just feel like they need a little more insurance, right? I mean, I don't know. And I'm not saying if they draft a running back that, oh, my God, that means they're getting prepared to trade James Cook or he's going to hold out. I'm not saying that at all, but I don't see a reason or need to do it based on how they normally operate, the numbers they bring, and who they have on the roster with them.
Right. Well, and what is especially different, Sal, it's the same group, but the roles off of last year to me, and I realize there'll be training camp and preseason and things can change, but I think, assuming Cook, gets here, eventually, they settle that one way or another, I think the roles are all pretty defined at this point, right? Cook is your number one guy. You got Ty Johnson. He's third downs and passing situations and 2-minute drill and all that. And Ray Davis is the backup, basically, to Cook. And, last year, we didn't, I know Ty Johnson had been here already, but I didn't feel to me he was the equal of Darrington Evans at this time last year. Now I'm glad they brought him back because I feel like there's a role there for him and he excelled at it and proved to be valuable. So just plop him back in that same spot. And so I don't know. I'd have a hard time avoiding feeling like they're getting some sort of Cook insurance here if they picked a running back, because not only do they have the bodies, but the bodies all sort of fit in a spot that they should feel pretty comfortable about, I think.
Agreed 100%, and I'll take it even a step further, Bulldog, and say, and these guys, 2 of them aren't rookies anymore, and I'm counting Frank Gore Jr. on the practice squad, who had a nice preseason. They all are guys they know. There's no wondering of who you have. There's no, where does this guy fit in? You know their skill set. They've been here a year. Let's run it back. It's literally it's amazing to me. I'm doing this I have the spreadsheets where I look at, I have the roster, and then I did today in and out. The Bills have literally made only 2 changes, and if you want to even call it that, to their offense at all. And that is Josh Palmer instead of Matt Collins, and they added Darrington Evans. Everything else is they don't need to. They have an entire offensive line group coming back. They have an entire wide receiver group coming back outside of that Palmer, and then the entire running backs and, of course, quarterbacks. So everybody, they know who they are. They're just going to put them right back in their roles. Somebody asked me today, why would Darrington Evans even want to sign here? Well, Darrington Evans was here too, and injuries happen. He has the same skill set as Ty Johnson, so it fits that, you have a guy like that. You're going to go to camp with 90 guys, but honestly, you might not even need any more than what you have on the roster right now at running back.
Right, you said it. Evans was really already here. I mean, he's been here before at least, so he's not brand new either. Derek Forrest, the safety Buffalo signed from Washington. What do you see his role being? Is he competing for a job? Is he special teams? Both?
Yeah, I think he competes for a job. I'd put him as a long shot to really be a starter. He'd have to really kind of blow them away, I think, at camp and fit into the system. As you guys know, we talk about a lot. It's challenging for any new player to come here to start that position. They really like guys who know the system, who they can trust and rely on. And that's a big reason I think they brought Damar Hamlin back. You could do a lot worse. I know people love to just, bang on Damar Hamlin and, say, oh, my God, like he doesn't need to be on this roster. Damar Hamlin's costing $2 million a year. As a fifth-year player who was a starter for you, you could do a lot worse as a veteran safety for Damar Hamlin. And now you have Derek Forrest who comes in, who he's going to have to learn the system, and I don't know if he has any crossover with other, terminology and stuff, but he is a guy I think that you can definitely put on special teams, let him kind of fit into the system to figure out where he belongs, and then he'll be one of those guys that you turn to in case of injuries and emergency. And look, I think that they really want Cole Bishop to be the starter, but you can't hand it to him, as Sean McDermott said.
Right.
And you got to have him go out and earn it. And that's why Damar Hamlin's back, too. And you got to have a little insurance there, and you got a guy who at least has been in the league a few years as well.
Yeah, I think you got to – it's maybe a couple of steps removed, but crossover is maybe Ron Rivera.
Yes, that's exactly right. And thank you for mentioning him, because he did say that Ron Rivera – he knows Ron Rivera gave a very good recommendation to Sean McDermott about him. So you're right, and I'm sure that there is some, like you say, crossover there, so that's good. It's like, to me, it's like, when you think of it in that terms, Bulldog, I remember Mike Edwards last year. Like, okay, Mike Edwards played Steve Spagnuolo's system and Todd Bowles' system, who are both very similar to Sean McDermott. So I bet you this has the same kind of feel to it.
Did I see Dane Jackson last night? Did that happen? Or did I get got?
Here's what happened, from what I understand.
Okay.
Remember last year when Dane re-signed, or 2 years ago, whatever it was, last time he re-signed a contract with the Bills?
Okay.
Somebody found that tweet and retweeted it.
That's what I saw. Okay, sorry. All right.
That's okay. But I want to make sure I say that doesn't mean it can't happen.
Right.
We just had this debate in the media room. Matt Bove asked me, he said, this is a good question. He said, rank these guys most likely to return. And he had Dane Jackson, Rasul Douglas, and, man, I can't think of who the other one was. And I said, I think Rasul first and then Dane. He had Dane atop, and a lot of people believe that could happen. I'm not saying it can't, but I think that, but right now it's not happened. Who knows? Maybe Dane Jackson does come back. They do like their guys who know their system. You know who else is out there? And I'm not reporting or saying that I think the Bills are interested in bringing him back, but I do know because I talked to him after they played him in the playoffs, and he said he'd be open to a return to Buffalo, and that's Tre'Davious White. Now, I'm not here predicting it's going to happen, but there are a few guys out there who do know the Bills system.
Mm-hmm. Sal, anything else?
I think that was it. No, I think that's it, guys. We'll have everything. I sent everything into Zach, so if anybody wants to hear all these interviews, obviously, we'll have everything for everybody at the website, WGR550.com, and on the app.
Was there was some thought that maybe there'd be Brandon Beane today, but no?
He might still talk. We have no idea.
Okay.
So if that happens, we'll have it for you as well, but it's kind of up in the air. He's working. It's one of those deals where it either could or it couldn't, and if it does, who knows what time.
It'd be funny if he just sort of sat down at the podium but didn't speak. Just sat there and people asked him questions. He just never said a word.
Or came out and spoke after everyone had gone home.
He's not available.
And he just comes out and just answers questions that he has in his own head.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But as we always say, keep your head in a swivel. You never know. It might get Brandon Beane today.
One other name that I thought when you mentioned Tre'Davious White you were going to mention, but it doesn't really cross over to McDermott's time here, but Stephon Gilmore is out there still, too.
He is, and he's an interesting guy. I mean, he's an older guy, but he's still been successful in the league, and he does have – I think he's very good at both systems, when meaning man-to-man and zone. He can still play both, and that's an interesting guy. I wonder if that's somebody that they would revisit. Suddenly, guys, starting corner has become kind of the most interesting spot on the Bills for me. I have no idea what they're going to do, but it's such a critical spot. And it's such a need right now that I'm fascinated about what they could do.
Right. We don't have Douglas signing anywhere else yet either.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sal, thanks.
You got it.
That's our man, Sal Capaccio. Spent the day out at One Bills Drive listening to new Bills free agent additions talking. His appearances are always brought to you by New York's only outlet liquor. When you need to stock up, it's the place to buy a case. What's your outlet?
Coming up, Sam Panayotovich. I mean, it's college basketball season right now. I mean, just absolutely. We'll see what Sam has to say about the upcoming tournament. What happened to Duke? Their best player, Flag, turned his ankle today, and maybe it's not super serious, but I know Duke was a team, like a favorite, a team that Sam's been high on. I see you, Colonial Downs opening day email announcement. DK Horse is knocking on the side of my head, wants to make sure I don't forget about it. We'll talk some NFL as usual, too, with Sam. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, WGR.
Call or text WGR at 803. update.
A majority of the Bills' free agent signings from this year have become official today, and plenty of them have also been speaking with the media throughout the afternoon. That includes edge rusher Joey Bosa, who, among other topics, spoke on signing with Buffalo and what it could mean to win a championship in the city.
Josh texted me that if we do what we set out to do, we could really be immortalized in this town. And, that's what it's all about, is winning a championship. And that's, I think, why people are here.
You can listen to each of the interviews over on the Odyssey app or on our website, WGR550.com. Around the rest of the league, the Steelers have added a quarterback, Mason Rudolph. He returns to Pittsburgh on a 2-year, $8 million contract, $4.5 million guaranteed. And the Texans, they are acquiring guard Ed Ingram from the Vikings for a 2026 sixth-round pick. To the Sabres, they're not in action again until Saturday when they host Las Vegas. But for more on yesterday's loss to Detroit, our own Paul Hamilton does have a piece up at our website, WGR550.com. Over in golf, the Players' Championship at TBC Sawgrass is underway. Lucas Glover does hold the early lead following a 6-under round 1. For more on the Players, do tune in to Tee to Green this Saturday from WGR from 7 to 8 a.m. live from Western New York PGA headquarters. And then in college basketball, UB women, they advanced yesterday to the MAC semifinal. They're now going to take on Toledo tomorrow at 12:30. And then St. Bonaventure, they take on the number 1 seed in the A10 VCU also tomorrow at 11:30 in the quarterfinals after taking down Duquesne today, 64-59. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of business. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
I don't think that's a very good attitude.
It's Mike Schopp.
You don't think? You don't think? I don't think you should be butting in when I'm talking to my team. You're my assistant, okay? You're supposed to back me up and go get me juice boxes when I tell you. Now go get me a juice box. You know who you're talking to?
It's the Bulldog.
I'm talking to the juice box guy. You're crazy. I'm not crazy. I'm just thirsty. Why don't you go to hell? No, you go to hell. While you're there, why don't you grab me a juice box? I'm no juice box boy, I'll tell you that. Yes, you are. No, I'm not. Yes, you are.
Mike Schopp and the Bulldog on WGR Sports Radio 550.
Welcome back. A couple minutes late here. Thanks for your patience. Thanks for Sam's patience. Hopefully he is being patient. I'm sure he is. On the line, the host of Bet Sweats, Odyssey Sports betting insider Sam Panayotovich. Insider calls are presented by BetMGM. Check out the latest lines today there on the BetMGM app. And be sure to catch Sam's show with Joe Ostrowski, Bet Sweats, 9 to noon daily on the newly rebranded BetMGM network, available on the Odyssey app. Sam, how are you?
I have nothing but time. I'm in the office. I'm watching 4 basketball games at once. I'm going nowhere all day. Don't worry.
I love the way that sounds. We've got the golf on in here, and someone, I think Minwoo Lee, just hit a ball into the middle of a pond. Like not even like close to okay. Like just you the ball entered the water and you didn't even see land, right?
That's the way to do it.
Can you live bet on 17T? Like you just live bet all day whether you think guys are going to hit it in the water, and like how? Because that seems like a really fun way to spend an afternoon to me.
Some books let you do it. I don't know if it's specifically that hole, but what they'll do is they'll follow select golfers around, and then you can play them live pre-shot off the tee on every hole. So depending on which golfer you're looking for, yeah, I think you can follow them live. I don't believe you can do it with every golfer, but if you wanted to play Scheffler on 1, 2, 3, 4 all the way through, I believe you can do it, especially in the majors. I'm not a golfer. I bet golf, but I do watch a lot of golf. And for somebody that doesn't golf, I sure as hell watch a lot of these shots and go, wow, I can put it in the water like that. You know,
right.
I don't know how some of these guys do this every week. I would be mental mashed potatoes if I was a pro golfer because it's so tough. You're out there by yourself, and one mess up like Jordan Spieth back in the day at the Open, you know, just like a catastrophic collapse. I would never recover from that as a golfer.
This, I think, for me, is the number one tournament for shots I'm watching guys attempt where I think I would fall into the water myself physically.
Right.
I think standing on the ledge there, you know, I don't think I'm just going to pick this one up. I'm going to bump it forward here and let's make it a little bit easier. Sam, what's your favorite way to bet golf?
Usually the head-to-head matchups. I know that people love the outrights, but those are very difficult. I think picking an outright golfer is tougher than picking a horse race, to be honest with you. But the pros that I know do a lot of cut props, make or miss. They do a lot of head-to-head, golfer A against golfer B, and they do top 10, top 20. If you're feeling froggy, you can do top 5. Now, look, I don't think it's a dumb idea to bet the outrights, but it's clearly easier to beat one guy or four guys in a group than it is to beat everybody in the field. And that's usually how I'll play it. I'll do, Bulldog over Schopp or Schopp over Bulldog or whatever, and then just kind of sprinkle. I hate that word, but everybody uses it. Sprinkle a little bit of cash on the outright markets. I have who do I have? I did bet Scheffler this week like a fool at 5-1. I know people say you can't bet the favorite. Ha! Watch me. I think he's going to be there at the end. I actually haven't seen any golf yet today, but I was cooking up, another term I hate. I'm turning into a Gen Z guy. I have Scheffler to win the Masters and Duke to win the tournament, 25-1. I bet that yesterday. I think that's a really good idea, no?
Well, at the moment, he's in like a...
Yeah, his ball's half buried in some pine straw or something.
In the woods.
Some wood chips, or I don't even know what the hell he's in over here.
By the way, is Duke in the woods?
Right, yeah. I mean, I'm not done with golf, by the way.
Refreshing. Yeah, I've been refreshing frantically on Flag. I literally am on X right now, and I have Flag in the search bar, and I'm just hitting refresh. I need one of those beakers that just hit my mouse and goes back up. According to John Shire, head coach of Duke, he sprained his ankle, quote, X-rays negative. We have to see how he recovers and how he goes from there. It sounds like he's going to be fine, however relative fine is. But Scheffler Masters and Duke National Championship, I still think is a decent idea. I mean, Scotty's going to be there. And the best golf guy that I know has been taking Scotty every year at the Masters. He parlays Scheffler top 10 with a team or two to win a championship. So he'll go, Scheffler top 10 Masters, Bills to win Super Bowl. Scheffler top 10 Masters, Celtics to win title. And he has made a killing because Scotty Scheffler usually finishes top 10 in Augusta. He's built for that course.
Yeah. Then what do you do then? You kind of is that doubling up? Is it better than that? The Scheffler Duke is 25-1. A Scheffler Bills, because the Bills are going to be 8-1 to win the Super Bowl. That's got to be a Scheffler Masters and Bills Super Bowl is probably 50-1. No, but I'm saying like top 10. Top 10 would be what? 2-1?
He minus 110.
Oh, not even that good. Okay.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever hit on a bet before, like Thursday morning before a tournament starts on an outright winner, but I've had pretty good luck on Saturday morning before round 3 with a guy, say, 3, 4, 5 shots back. And I won on Matsuyama like that last year in one of the tournaments that's already been played this year. I can't remember which one it was. But just, praying, looking at the leaderboard. In this case, when I won with Matsuyama last year, Cantlay was in the lead, and I can't stand watching Cantlay play, and I don't believe in him at all. So I'm like, all right, well, he'll give it away. So let me get somebody down here at a nice number and count on them to make a charge, and I got paid off. I like doing that. Like halfway through the thing, you can still get somebody, again, that's 3, 4, 5 off the lead. You can get a pretty good number on those guys sometimes on Saturday morning.
I totally get it. If it works for you, do it. I'm not good at that because, like I said, I don't play golf. I don't understand it. I'm betting math. But you're not on an island there. I know several people that like to watch these guys play Thursday, Friday, and a lot of people I know like to watch how golfers finish on Friday. So that plays right into your point. If they end Friday with momentum and things break their way Saturday, by all means. The other thing, too, when Scheffler is in contention, as he is right now, I just pulled up the leaderboard for the first time today. So he's 3 under par. He's 3 off the lead. Scheffler destroys the live market. And what I mean by that is currently, I'm looking at one book right now, Scheffler's 3-1 to win the tournament. But everybody else is 10-1 or higher. So if you can get around the Scheffler stuff and avoid the noise, I mean, you could bet Rory right now at 10-1, Morikawa 14. The guy in front, Lucas Glover, 6 under, he's 18-1. He's in first. So when Scheffler's in the hunt, the prices go up on everybody else. It's wild how that works. Honestly, Scheffler is priced live a lot like Tiger used to be priced live in his prime.
That's what it sounds like.
So back to Duke here in this injury. Did when it first happened, did odds move on them for any Final Four, the championship, and has that corrected because it doesn't sound as bad maybe? Or where are we at? What kind of impact did that injury today have, if any?
When they showed him on the wheelchair, one book, I think it was FanDuel, went to 7-1.
All right.
And not gonna lie, I might have bet a little bit more because I wasn't buying it. It reminded me of Paul Pierce. Remember when they wheeled him off and then he ran out and he hit a 3-pointer and he's like, yeah. What goes up must come down. It sounds like he's going to be fine for the tournament. So it did go up. Like one book I said went to 7-1. Best price now, BetMGM has 375. So nobody is really buying that it's a long-term issue, and that's good for me, and I know good for some people in your audience. I did get a nice tweet. Once flag went down and got wheeled off, somebody tweeted, "Nice call on Duke, dork." And I'm like, yeah, that's my fault. The Cooper flag got hurt. Yes, that's my fault.
I keep telling my mom to get off of social media, and she just can't. She's relentless, Sam. I apologize for her on behalf of the entire Parker family.
Let's hit on some of this quarterback movement in the NFL, Sam. So I don't know if you would know like what it has meant to futures lines, or rather just, at least get your opinion on these teams. Seattle with Darnold. What is Seattle doing? They trade Geno Smith. They trade DK Metcalf. Kind of an interesting team for a semi-rebuild there. Would you say you like them more or less than like a month ago? Probably less.
Much less. I don't know what they're doing. He was really, and it seems simple for me to talk about this from my desk in my office, but he was in a perfect scenario last year, playing indoors over half the schedule, under the tutelage of Kevin O'Connell, offensive coach. Now he has to play for Mike McDonald and a new offensive coordinator in Seattle. Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, Aaron Jones, a decent line, a good system. It was perfect for him. Now he goes outdoors with DK Metcalf out of the picture, Lockett out of the picture. You have JSN, you have Kenneth Walker, I guess, but this is not an offensive team. This is not a firework team. This is a run-the-ball, play defense team, and now he's got to play in the elements, in the rain, in the snow when it gets cold. I think it's a disaster waiting to happen, and we don't have win totals yet, Mike, but I can tell you divisionally speaking, they are 7-1 to win the West, which is the same price as Arizona, way down the board, and I'm guessing their win total is going to be about 7.5. And I don't think I'm going to bet the over, put it that way. I also don't know I don't know what the plan is in New York with the Giants. Are they really going to bring in Aaron Rodgers? Is that their solution? I don't ever see myself trusting that guy to stay healthy for 16, 17 games again. And people keep asking, where's he going to go? I hope he goes to the CFL for all I care. I just don't, I don't think he can play anymore, guys. And you saw it up close and personal this year, right, with the Jets. I don't know why teams still want him. And I honestly, aside from the attention, I don't know why else he still wants to play. He's made over $380 million. If that's the Giants' solution going into next year, that's a fade for me as well.
Yeah, I hear you. We were talking about this earlier in our show today, Sam. Like, I don't feel like I'm curious where guys are going to land up, and of course, there's something of a circus around Rodgers all the time. But as far as Russell Wilson, him, I don't know. I don't think anything's a real meter mover. Like whoever lands any one of those guys is like, okay, great, you're good. Good luck to you is what I would say.
The only thing that would swing a number, whether it be division, conference, Super Bowl, not to get crazy, win total, would be somebody just betting it and betting it handsomely. The books are not scared of Aaron Rodgers at this point. The books are not scared of Russell Wilson. Justin Fields went to the Jets, and the price to win the Super Bowl actually went the other way. It went down. So it's not like they're going to be scared of these guys that are waiting in the wings to be discovered again on the wrong side of 35. But, I don't know what the plans are there, but the Giants have been dysfunctional for a long time. Buffalo, by the way, did get bet out to minus 270 to win the AFC East. I know Mike is saying he doesn't know how good they are and might not win 12, 13 games, but they are betting the Bills like they're going to go 14-3, basically.
I mean, 12-13 is it's really good. I mean, the Bills have been good for 5 years running, and a couple of those years they did not get to 12 wins. So, you're not saying this exactly, but I wasn't bashing them. I just have a tough time thinking anybody, like wanting to bet anybody to dominate like that. I'm not going to make a Jet or even a Patriot or Dolphin argument here. It's just the division went so well for the Bills last year. Would they be, is the right word, the shortest favorite of any division? Maybe Houston? Maybe Kansas City?
They're the most expensive. No, they're the most expensive by far. So just for context, Bills minus 275, Eagles minus 140, Ravens minus 130, Houston even money, the Bucks plus 110, Lions plus 135, Chiefs minus 125. Buffalo is the largest divisional favorite right now, and it's not even close.
Okay. You said about the NFC West, by the way. What was the rest of it? Are the Rams on top?
They open Niners even money, Rams 2-1, but that's coming closer to the middle. People are betting the Rams because I don't know, aside from the schedule, and Joe and I have talked about, I asked him the other day, I'm like, what are the Niners doing, A, and B, why are they favored? They have the weakest schedule in the NFL next year per strength of schedule. It's awful. And you go through the schedule and you're like, wow, that is easy. Niners, though, plus 130, Rams plus 160 at one shop. So it's really, according to the books right now, it's a two-team race, and then Seahawks and Cardinals much lower down the board.
Interesting.
Sorry to hop around on you here, but we covered Seattle and Darnold going there. What about Geno going from Seattle to Vegas?
Not much, and that's because the conference is so strong and the division is so strong. I mean, think about the quarterbacks that Vegas has to outperform. Mahomes, Herbert, and Bo Nix. You got to face those guys 2 times each. Raiders are 18-1 to win the division. I don't know where they're going to put the win total. I would guess 6, 6.5, something like that, because it really comes down to the math and how many times they're going to be favored. I mean, they play 17 games. I don't think they're going to be favored more than 5 or 6. You do fall into a win or two maybe as a dog, but you're going to lose a game or two as a favorite. So I would guess 6 on the Raiders for the win total.
The Puka dream took a little bit of a hit, right? Devontae Adams?
I don't know, man. I think that makes them just more efficient. Maybe the numbers go down, but now you can't double team them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I have hitched my wagon to Puka Nacua, Offensive Player of the Year. I already have a couple of bets on him at 16-1. We'll see how much more I add, but I don't think that hurts him. He might not get 130 catches anymore, but he should still have over 100, 12, 13 touchdowns. He's gonna be a weapon for them, man, and they're gonna use him as the focal point now. He is the guy, and I don't think that's a bad thing.
Okay, Cup gone. That's right. All right, Sam. So before we go, you got the college basketball going all over your office there. Any sort of new crush? We've talked about Duke, and you're into Auburn, and even George Mason. We've talked about a few of these teams with you, week to week. But we're closer to it now. Anybody new that you like?
Not really a crush. I did bet Kansas tonight. You can bet that. They're +3 all over the place. I think they're going to beat Arizona. So I did take Kansas +3. I need Mason to win tomorrow, and I have my bread buttered with Duke. I need them to stay healthy and make a run to the Final Four, win the championship. That'd be great. But nothing new, no new crush. Kansas tonight. And I do have breaking news. If you will have me next Friday, I will be live in Las Vegas if you want to pull that off.
Totally. Bulldog won't be here. I'm in. I thought about going out there, actually. When I saw your announcement with Joe that you're going to be, Mandalay Bay?
Uh-huh, yep.
I thought about going out there, sort of crashing the party, but Chris being gone. I have these ideas.
It's not exactly a skip and a jump for you, Mike, to come out there from Buffalo.
No, but it's a direct flight. I've done it a lot.
Yeah, it's not that bad.
I go out there for fantasy almost every year. Thought about it, but sounds great, though. Sounds great. We'll talk to you then.
All right, guys. Take care.
Thank you. Sam Panayotovich, Bet Sweats on the Odyssey app and the Bet 1520 weekday mornings. I could bet a Jets over. I could.
Go ahead.
I could.
Please go. You go right
I
ahead.
might be back. Because that people, you're an example of it. So done with Fields, like just so done.
Mm-hmm.
But still young. Maybe this is the fit. In Pittsburgh, looking back, looks like it was kind of all. He was just sort of set up there. You start. Didn't Wilson have an injury too? He had a calf injury or something, and Fields started the season, but they were just waiting to go to Wilson. They're paying him like, you're going to. This is you, the Jets, and the number's going to be so low.
Well, he's definitely going to be the guy. I mean, they're paying him, half of
the big money,
what the good guys get. So I mean, there is that
or less.
But still, you don't pay a guy that to just come in and be insurance policy or something. And he'd be a weird guy to have as an insurance policy, anyways. So I have no doubt he's going to be their guy. I don't think he can see it. I don't know, like that. With time, maybe that could change, but I just don't think he sees it. I mean, he has the talent to make plays when he knows exactly what he wants to do and he sees it. But I think the second he gets confused, it's just over. It blows up.
Talking earlier about the possibility of the Bills drafting a running back, should they not? Would it mean anything to you if they did? With assuming, I guess, for this that Cook isn't signed by the draft, but there's a lot of time for that to happen between now and then. 803-0550 for your calls. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
We know you can't hear WGR Sports Radio 550. Now, Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines.
A majority of the Bills' free agent signings have made their signings official today, and many more of them have also spoken to the media, including edge rusher Joey Bosa, who talked signing with Buffalo and what it can mean to win a championship in this city.
Josh texted me that if we do what we set out to do, we could really be immortalized in this town, and that's what it's all about, is winning a championship, and that's, I think, why people are here.
Players such as wide receiver Josh Palmer also spoke with the media today, and if you want to listen back to any of those meetings, you can find them over on the Odyssey app or on our website, WGR550.com. Steelers have added a quarterback, Mason Rudolph. He returns to Pittsburgh on a 2-year, $8 million contract with $4.5 million of that guaranteed, while the Texans, they are acquiring guard Ed Ingram from the Vikings for a 2026 sixth-round pick. Over to the Players' Championship at TBC Sawgrass. It is well underway. Lucas Glover and Chandler Phillips are tied for the lead at 6 under par. For more on the Players, do tune into Tee to Green this Saturday right here on WGR from 7 to 8 a.m. live from Western New York PGA headquarters. And then in college basketball, UB women, they are taking on Toledo tomorrow at 12:30 in the MAC semifinal. And then St. Bonaventure, they take on the number 1 seed in the A10 VCU tomorrow at 11:30 in the quarterfinal. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of business. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Is a bargain. I understand we see that $250 million in guarantees, and it sounds like a lot. He came in average per year under Dak Prescott, who signed his deal last year. Josh Allen absolutely could have agitated for more. $55 million, or what sounds like a lot, that's not going to be a lot in a couple of years. He did that to help his team build, and if they don't build a better team around him, I would argue that the team, the GM, the front office, deserves a lot of criticism because they put pressure on themselves with this latest extension.
Mina Kimes. Here. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, 803-0550. We talked some James Cook today. What will it look like if he's not around? I think it's not likely that he won't be around. I mean, these things get worked out usually. It'd be pretty stunning if that dragged on into the, even into the preseason, maybe. Certainly the regular season. Certainly the playoffs. Definitely the playoffs.
Yeah.
But what about it?
I think it's interesting to consider whether or not something will be done by the draft. Like, part of what we've talked about today is like what would it feel like? What will it look like? We talked about it, just you and I, and then with Sal as well. And I don't think there's ever been a situation since Bean and McDermott have been here where their backfield looks more all set than it does right now, assuming Cook either on his existing contract, and I don't know, maybe to some extent or another upset about that, but still not holding up. It comes in and plays on it, and then becomes a free agent. But if they have their guys, like they don't need a guy really. The roles are pretty well defined now. Unless they want to get better, but I think Ty Johnson, on a very reasonable extension, showed to be a valuable piece for them last year in the role that he was in. I don't see any reason why you would be eager to tip that over at this point. So I think the draft gets here and nothing has happened with Cook. Let's say he continues every week or two, tweeting something or other about, like yesterday I saw on Twitter that on his Instagram he had like the spinning wheel for waiting, right? Like something to load, waiting for something to load, right? That was on his Instagram whatever are they stories there? I don't even know. I don't know the lingo. I'm not an Instagram guy.
He seems to be really enjoying himself.
Yeah. So that keeps happening. The Bills don't say anything, and the draft comes, And they do on Saturday at some point, 4th, 5th, 6th, whatever round. They grab a guy. And on paper, he sounds like, oh, this guy ran like 4.45, and he's, 5'9" and 210, and, he can catch the ball, and, I don't know.
No kidding. That will be what happens if they do it.
And, it'll be hard to avoid that. I said it to Sal, as much as, it doesn't have to mean anything. They could want to improve on Ty Johnson or Ray Davis even after 1 year. Who knows? In a running back rich draft, it might make sense to just take a guy, and even if he doesn't contribute for a year or two, you've got a guy that's talented that you can eventually elevate at some point. But still, the specter of it will immediately go to, they haven't done anything with Cook yet. So maybe that would be a sign. I'm not saying it has to be, but it's a possibility. They could want to say, oh yeah, to some extent. As much as they respect the player and the work and everything, it's always been odd to me that he went right to 11 on this.
Yeah.
Right from the start with seemingly no provocation.
Or right to 15 if you prefer.
Right, fine. Yeah, I'm Spinal Tap as the show ever sounded older. But
somebody heard you and was like, no, I thought it was 15.
Yeah, right.
Yes,
Thank you.
I loved it.
You get the point.
I loved it.
And now everyone does, I hope. It didn't seem like there was any provocation for that. It was just him saying, racing to, I should get this. I'm this good. That's the market. And I don't disrespect that, but it just came out of nowhere. And I don't know. I know teams. I don't know the Bills for sure because, again, they haven't had a lot of this. But I can see a team getting aggravated by that. Being like, you're going to push us around now?
I wonder what they think. What is any of it really meant for, right? You're talking to your fans. Anybody following James Cook likes him. I'm sure every time he tweets, fans line up to tell him how great he is, how worth it he is.
Sure. There's always going to be a portion of the fan base that's going to push back at that, though.
Well, that's right.
Right? That because you referenced it the other, maybe the last time we talked about this last week one day. There's always a certain part of any fan base that the minute one of the guys on the team raises his hand and says, hey, where's mine? Some fans are like, hey, you should shut up. You're lucky to be here. You signed the contract. All that sort of rhetoric. People are dug in on that. I don't know what kind of numbers they are of Bills fans percentage-wise, but I know they're out there because we're sort of the clearinghouse for them, either on the air or, social media.
But I guess to the point, what is he accomplishing?
Right. I don't know.
What is it meant for? What does it do for anything? Does it help? It can't help.
I can't imagine it helps. The Bills maybe the Bills were thinking about a contract extension for him to begin with, and maybe they had a number in their head, 10 million, 12 million even. I don't know. That's pretty high, but still, 10 million. And they haven't said a word to his agent or him about it, but as they're ramping into off-season mode, looking at the guys that are eligible for extensions and trying to establish their values, what's our plan here? What kind of path are we going to go down with each of these guys? They arrive at a value there, and then a day or two later, there's James Cook with the eyeball emojis and $15 million. I guess we're going to have to pay him $15 million. No, they don't. They absolutely do not do that.
No. When this started, it was eye-popping. Speaking of eyeballs, it was an eye-popping request or demand or whatever it was. Now, however long later, with Barkley's deal, had that even happened yet?
No.
Other signings, really at all positions, just a balloon with new cap room and new money, makes his number less insane.
Right.
It makes it, and that's also the conversation we had with Mike Giannitti of Spotrac right after that, which was, what did he say? Something like 3 for 30. That kind of thing is doable here. His timing is good in the market, and that's not out of line, really. So that is different for me now in terms of like reacting to what Cook apparently wants, but I don't know what he's doing. Like, it's not like he's doing that much, but just kind of like right there. I didn't know there was something else yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
Just, okay, well, I'm sure they haven't forgotten about you. I'm guessing that you've heard from them.
I'm assuming that whatever that was intentional. I mean, I suppose you could accidentally post something to social media of a screen that is just, the wheel spinning, and like that was a pocket dial or something.
Not at his age.
I don't know.
Not at his age. At my age, not at his age. I could do it.
I mean, I did get got by a Dane Jackson tweet that was 4 years old or something. So I mean, I could get tripped up.
I'm quite familiar with that spinning circle, but I don't believe I've ever posted it. Unwittingly. How would you even do that?
Or as a plan of any kind?
Right. It would only be as a plan. Only would happen if I was trying to say something, which is probably what happened here. Rich is next. Go ahead.
Gentlemen, good afternoon / evening.
Wait, stop. What?
It's not even 5 o'clock, Rich. After 5, I could give you evening, but I'm sorry. It's going to be light until 7 o'clock here. I can't give you evening.
4:43 is evening for you?
That's why I said slash. I said slash.
There's no slash.
I'm objecting to the slash, Rich. That's the point.
Gentlemen, I love listening to you guys.
Thank you.
I listen to you guys as soon as I get home from work because it desensitizes me from work. But the James Cook incident, I think, he had a good above-average year, very good year, but I think he's outpriced himself compared to like a Barkley. We have dire needs at other positions. I don't want to give him $12 to $15 million. You said it best, I think, Bulldog. 10 maybe is the ceiling. If worse comes to worse, and this is what I am not liking right now, he's starting to become social media. I don't want distraction. If he really wants the money that he wants, just, we already got Ray Davis. We signed draft running back in the 4th, 5th round to supplement. I don't want to say let him go, but I don't want to give him the king's ransom. There's other positions that need to be addressed. Running back is not number one.
Okay, thank you. Fine.
Yeah, I respect all that. I don't.
The idea that, I have to say, somehow his being on Instagram is a problem for, his teammates or something is nonsense.
Right. I don't think it's a distraction. It becomes a distraction if and when he's not here.
It's also March 13th.
Right.
What he's priced himself out of at this point is literally nothing. But, assessment of the value of the position and all the rest, okay.
That's why I think the draft is sort of a line of demarcation. Like, if it could be a sign that the Bills are worried about it or digging in, or it could not be, but, it'll be hard to avoid that being a possibility anyway, that they're nervous about it, not willing to go where he wants to go, and bracing for what it could mean. Certainly if they do anything before the Saturday of the draft, then that even gets amplified even more, right? I mean, if they draft one of these day 2 running backs or something, then, it's on. Then they're going down the road Rich is suggesting. I don't know what they end up doing with Cook if they were to do that, but you're drafting somebody on Friday at the NFL draft, you're replacing James Cook, I think.
At least partly. I mean, that's what they did by drafting him.
Right.
You were going to move him in on your group. I mean, that you're not going to just – a guy you pick in round 2 is not going to be inactive unless he's terrible. So at least you're moving in on him, which I would say I'd be up for without a contract dispute. I'd be up for that if they didn't have Davis and now also Johnson. I'd be up for that. I'd want that. Not necessarily the second round or even the second day, but that would be cool to me. There's so many interesting players. I always want, in a vacuum, perfect team build my starting running back is not a first-round pick or even necessarily a second-round pick. He's somebody, that's cheaper, and then I'm just going to churn him, right? I'm going to use him up. So as bad as that sounds, that's what I think I'd want to have on my perfect team build. And, he wasn't that expensive in terms of draft capital. He's been good for them, but when you start to talk, in my opinion, you agree, I think mostly, some people don't. They think he's better than this. But the idea of replacing him, I'm not daunted in the least. If it's somebody new, somebody they have, are the Bills really going to suffer as an offense if they had someone of comparable quality, but not somebody you'd necessarily say is better than Cook? No. And we kind of know this because of the years previous to him, when they didn't have a guy who's been as productive as Cook anyway, and they were also great. So that does have limitations. If your wide receivers aren't great, then your running back isn't good, and your tight end, all of it, there are limits to that. It can't just all be, I've got Josh Allen, end of discussion.
They were a much more pass-heavy team when Devin Singletary was their number one running back, but they had Stephon Diggs on their team at that time. It was a very different thing than where they're at now. They're more run-heavy now. That might lead you to think that they will, value paying a second contract. Like, I kind of thought, really, what I advocated for and what I thought they were doing was what you just said. Although, it went up by round, right? Third round, second round, fourth round last year. I'm Singletary, Moss, Cook, eventually Ray Davis. They're bringing guys in, and to me, you do that because you want to be ready to not have to give out the second contract to a running back. And we'll see. I mean, this would be the year to do that if you were going to keep doing that. But again, Cook complicated things by having such an excellent year, which is another reason why I'm reluctant to dive in and just give him close to what he wants off of that year. Because you shouldn't think you're buying 18 touchdowns a year when you sign him. But that's what you're negotiating off of, and that's a tough place to be, I think.
Mike Schopp and the Bulldog back after this. This is WGR. there's behind the sticks in football.
Yeah, we're chasing it here.
We're behind the clock, so we'll get to your calls again right after sports. Ahead of the clock, Brendan Montour, scoring an overtime goal last night in 4 seconds. Fastest ever.
Oh, really? I did not know that. All right.
For Seattle. How would it, you didn't see it, how would it happen? How do you score an overtime goal, and it's not like the goalie fell down or something? How would you score an overtime goal in 4 seconds?
Well, there's only 3 people on the ice, so a defenseman is not going to be, he probably is near his blue line anyway. But I think the draw goes to a free wing. Like if there's the centerman, a winger on the guy's left defensively, and then a defenseman at their blue line. The puck goes to the free wing, so the right wing, and he's at his own blue line. He just skates up, takes it, walks in, and shoots.
Close. So they actually lined up as all forwards, 3 on 3, all the red line, and the center he just kind of went.
That is
right wing.
That is how they do that in overtime. That's right. Yeah,
he kind of just goes from the right wing, and the center pushes the puck up, like between his opposition and then the Montreal guy on the right, and he just sort of sails in just like that, 4 seconds. So Brendan Montour, one of the great Sabres of recent times. Montour, your Montours, your Curtis Lazars.
One of the great misused Sabres of all time.
He was a good idea.
He had the wrong coach and was not given free rein to move around the ice, and then he went to Florida and scored 75 points.
Yeah.
And the cup.
Another one.
Yeah.
Mike Schopp and the Bulldog. Back to the Bills after sports on WGR.
This is a Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update.
A majority of the Bills' free agent signings became official today, and many of them spoke with the media, including Joey Bosa, Josh Palmer, and Derek Forrest. If you want to hear back what they had to say with the media, you can find that on the Odyssey app or on our website, WGR550.com. Around the rest of the league, the Steelers have added a quarterback, Mason Rudolph. He returns to Pittsburgh on a 2-year, $8 million contract with $4.5 million guaranteed. While it is official, the Texans are acquiring guard Ed Ingram from the Vikings for a 2026 sixth-round pick. Over to the Sabres, they did fall hard last night to Detroit, 7-3. For more on that loss, Paul Hamilton does have a piece up at our website, WGR550.com. And now the Sabres, they're going to have a few days off until their next in action when they host Las Vegas this Saturday. Over to golf. The Players at TBC Sawgrass is underway. Lucas Glover has the early lead at 6 under par. For more on the Players, do tune in to Tee to Green this Saturday right here on WGR from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. live from Western New York PGA headquarters. And we'll also get more on the Sabres and the Players as Brian Koziel will join the show in just about a half hour at 5:30. And then in college basketball, UB women, they advanced yesterday to the MAC semifinal. They'll now take on Toledo tomorrow at 12:30. And then St. Bonaventure, they will take on the number 1 seed in the A10 VCU tomorrow at 11:30 in the quarterfinals. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of business. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Anything mechanically. I don't even know how to put a game together for 3-year-olds.
And the Bulldog.
Fool me once, shame on you. If fool me, we can't get fooled again.
On WGR Sports Radio 550.
That guy was president, by the way. Although now, maybe that's... Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, 803-0550. We're talking a lot about James Cook today. And kind of the conversation is... So, what if he does play hardball all the way with the Bills, and the Bills just don't? I mean, also play hardball, I guess, but just don't capitulate.
Mm-hmm.
What then? Is it how important is it, I guess, is one way to ask that question. Lines are open for you. We'll talk to Brian, as Zach just said, coming up later this hour. Here's CJ with us. Hi, CJ.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Good.
First, I want to say I'm not against re-signing James Cook before I say this. I guess what I'm trying to find balance in the value of James Cook. It's not really against him. It's more or less, how much do you lose in this offense where we throw screens, we run the ball, we block really well for passing, and like the O-line is so good that if we let James Cook leave, how much do we really lose? Just explosiveness? Because Ray Davis is really well. You can fill his void by, I guess you can say Frank Gore filling his spot and Ty Johnson being Ty Johnson because he's running back by committee, not to mention Ray Davis is a better pass blocker. It's just a value. What James Cook is asking for, I don't think is fair for this team to pay in the situation that we're in, which I can use that money or put it somewhere else, red corner, anywhere. I'm just saying. That's just me. I would love to re-sign him for a lower price. That's my point.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty much where I am. I mean, I appreciate, the work he's put in. I mean, he obviously had a tremendous impact on last season. But he's not a guy that plays as much as some of the other high-priced running backs. I mean, that position has changed over the years. There's more, even the best guys have like a specialty complement or something. There's just not a lot of guys that play, I think 70% of the snaps is a lot. 74, I think, is what you said Barkley was at last year with Philadelphia. We talked about this last week one day. I don't know if that's the high for the league, but I'd be surprised if anybody's over 75 or 80 at the very most.
Oh, mate. I wonder who would be.
Snaps.
I'm going to look up Connor.
Okay. He's well below that. Like, he's just over half the snaps. So that's a factor. And I wouldn't want to pay him and then use him differently. He's not a guy that, to me, you should be looking to wear out. He's been durable. He's stayed on the field, but he's being used in a way that I think helps facilitate that. And I don't know. I mean, if you change that, it doesn't have to end badly, but it sure could. So I'd be worried about that. And that's really it for me. I don't think they're all set with, like, say, Ty Johnson or Ray Davis taking over necessarily. I'd want to add someone, I think, to that mix. But, the price has just got to make sense. It really does. I mean, a part of the value of having him on the team last year was that he was making the money he was making, right? Once you sign up for tripling that salary or even doubling that salary, I mean, that's a different equation then. The value of what he's giving you changes. Like his play doesn't become more valuable, but it just costs you more. And I don't know, that's a tough place to be.
Connor's only 60%. He seems to me like a guy that never comes off the field, but that's way under Barkley. Derrick Henry was, I think, 50-something.
Yeah,
so
okay.
I might search that. I'm curious if there's anybody above Barkley. There might not be. Snap percentage last year. And Cook is like right at 50 or
52, I think, is the number I have in my head from last year anyways.
Mm-hmm. Dennis is next. Thanks, DJ. Hi, Dennis.
Hey, guys. So I think my favorite idea on this topic would be to trade him. And it's probably a 0% chance. But it's just, when I think through all the options, I just think, like you said, he's at 50%. We get a lot of production out of the other guys, too. I know he's a very dynamic player. But, what if we looked at a team that was looking for somebody like Ashton Genty in the first round, and we're able to trade a guy with a year left on his rookie deal to a team that maybe would give us a second-rounder in return for him? And then they don't have to waste their first-round pick on a running back. They could pick something else. It certainly would get a heck of a good young running back in return, and then we would get something for it, too. I just wonder if that might be the best look at what to do in a proactive way instead of letting this drag out, and then next year you're finding yourself up against it a little bit.
I think the hardest part of that, when I've thought about this, because I don't know, we haven't really talked much in here about trading him, and this is the reason why. I mean, I see it brought up, like people, I'm over here to trade Greg Rousseau, and it's kind of the same situation. Not now, not they've signed him and extended him, like that's over. But different positional value, and teams are more willing to pay defensive ends than they are running backs, so it's a little different. But the biggest hang-up to me, thinking you'd get a second-round pick for Cook, that's where you drafted him, and he wants the money. That doesn't mean he's valueless, but you don't do great in a trade trading that player, because the team that's taking him on, this is the motivation to trade. Why does DK Metcalf end up going for, what was it, a third-round pick? A 2 instead of a 1 and a 3 like they wanted? Because the guy wants money. And the acquiring team knows the team that's divesting themselves of the asset doesn't want to meet the asking price, so you're giving them something for taking that off their hands. And again, that's a wide receiver. Different, again, teams more willing to pay. I just think why don't the Bills want to pay James Cook? Well, why would anyone want to do that is the question. And give you a second-round pick for the trouble?
No way.
It just doesn't happen.
Interesting, the caller said up front, we've heard from Dennis a lot. He's always pretty sharp. Like, I know there's 0.0 chance of this happening. The probably, I would say, from what it sounds like, the running backs available in the second round are better than Cook this year. That could be Travion Henderson, that could be Quinshon Judkins, could be Caleb Johnson, could even possibly be Omarion Hampton. Like, those guys are at least as good. So I'm not trading a pick that could get me them for this guy who's at best about the same, and he's been in the league 3 years. And the contract is part of that. So they would never do that. The reason I think there's almost no chance of a trade is because you don't have that fit. Like, if it's the 4th round, why would the Bills do it? They're not going to give him away. He's still young and important. So it doesn't work from them on that side of it, because the teams who are interested in him, maybe the 3rd is a landing spot there. If it were to happen, my guess might be that it's a 3rd-round pick. But I think I'd just rather pick somebody if I'm the other team.
The only caveat I will add, it doesn't really sorry about that. It doesn't change the value that you'd get in return. But a team that I think, like, if you were really of the mind to do this, if Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott and everyone, they're sitting around like just talking like we're talking, except they're not on the radio and on the Twitch. They are, well, what could we do? What are our options? Could we trade him? What would we take? Would we take a fourth? Could we get a third? Somebody called Dallas.
There's always that.
There's always that. Like
always Dallas.
Because Dallas, Jerry Jones, right? Like, well, the draft is which is right. The draft is a crapshoot. Now you can say as much as you want. Like everything you read indicates that this guy, and this guy look like better prospects than James Cook. Jerry Jones is going to go, the man scored 18 touchdowns last year. This is Emmitt Smith played here, right? Like Jerry Jones, like he's about that. So like that, if I were thinking of trading him, I would call them. If they say no, then I'm like, I guess we're not being able to trade him. There's no dumber team about this position in the history of the sport. So
wow,
let's call them. That's the only prayer you've got, I think.
Man, it would be something. By the way, back to snap share. 2024 running backs on the field, percentage of snaps. 1, Kyron Williams, 81.5. Oof. 2, Bijan Robinson, 75.3. 3, Barkley, 69.2. 29, James Cook, 44.6.
Wow, it's not even 50%.
Not even 50%.
I'm stunned by that somebody got over 80.
Kyron Williams.
That makes sense.
They love their Kyron Williams.
Right.
With the Rams, the other guy, Blake Corum is his name, would play every third possession. He would always come in on the third possession. And then seemingly go right back out. Because Kyron Williams led the league among running backs in snap share. Dave is next. Hi, Dave.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we got you, man. Go ahead.
All right, yeah, I just wanted to chime in about the James Cook thing. I'm definitely like a person that's very cap conscious, like salary cap conscious. I understand, we only got a certain level of funds to distribute, but I just think he's being undersold. I recall that AFC Championship game, and had we won that game, I think he's the MVP. I mean, he played outstanding. Not just that game, but I mean, that's the last memory that I have of him on the field. All season, no fumbling. I mean, I know he doesn't play a lot, so his usage rate may not be high, but that's just running backs this era.
That's right.
I just think you need to figure it out with him because he's still young. He didn't really carry it a lot in college. I think we need to figure out a way to keep him and make the number make sense, but I hear a lot of people just like, you could just plug somebody else in. I think Josh won him back, too. He helped Josh out a lot. So that's pretty much all I have.
Yeah.
Love you guys.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Dave. Yeah.
All good points.
I don't have any question at all that the players on the team will be watching and would want him back. The guys on the team always want everybody to get paid. There's limits to that, I suppose, right? But like Allen's pretty, he's 55. He's settling for, he can barely spit the words out. Like, what's another $5 million going to do? So, but still, $55 million a year on average. Oh my God, you want guys to get taken care of. So like that definitely matters. And I think, despite how we're talking today, this is all speculative on what would happen if, right? What would happen if they don't settle it by the draft? What would happen if they draft a guy in the 5th round? What would happen if they drafted a guy in the 2nd or 3rd round? They don't have a 3rd round pick. And we're just playing the game here. I think the most likely outcome is they find some solution, and hopefully Cook is satisfied with it. I don't know that everyone will be. I highly doubt that they will be, because the reason I think fans get to just plug someone else in is because they don't believe in paying a running back that plays barely, not even 50% of the time, $12 million a year. Like, I'm not going to love that price if they sign him for that.
Yeah, the fact that he played 44% of snaps there's there's two sides to that coin. I mean, one is, well, it's not closer to double that, like a guy that you'd sooner think you can't live without. You know, the caller mentions the Kansas City game, that great touchdown on the fourth run. He had 2 touchdowns in the game. He's also not on the field late in the game when they had to score to win, right? Johnson. So that's both, wow, he's super efficient. A historic year for a Bills running back. Tied the franchise record in rushing touchdowns. Also, not important enough to his team for him to be on in more, if not all, situations. So you could look at that either way, I think. Let's go to Chris next. Hi, Chris.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Thanks for calling.
First-time caller. Hey, I was wondering, why not just franchise him? If that franchise tag him or transition tag him, if that's what we want to do for, instead of paying him the big money.
That's for next year, Chris. He's under contract for this year. So, if the Bills really wanted to dig in and not do anything with his contract, they could challenge him to show up and play under this deal and then franchise him next year. Like, if they wanted to really play hardball, that's there for them if they want it.
Yeah, that's what I would do. But as far as the draft goes, I tell you who I really want. It's like, we'll not be able to pronounce his last name. It's Nick something other. He's a safety from
Amenworry. That's my dude.
Oh, God, I love him. He reminds me of Kyle Hamilton, and he can play linebacker, safety, cornerback. I love that guy. That's who I want.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah,
you and I are aligned there. The draft comes and he goes 10th. I'm not going to be surprised. But if he lasts into the 20s, I am going to be circling my house. I'm going to be walking room to room like, oh my God, this dude is there. Maybe he's there. Go get him.
I think we had the caller muted at the time, but Chris went on to say, also big Beaker fan. Like yourself. So you two have a lot in common. Plus your name.
Right.
Same name, same draft crush. Also big fans of the Muppet Beaker. How about that?
You people out there that don't appreciate Beaker don't know what you're missing.
I've said it once. You've said it once. Bill is next. Hello, Bill.
Good afternoon, guys. I wanted to say I do agree with you guys. If we can come to a decent number for Cook, I do think that we should retain him. If he's only playing, obviously, the 44% in snaps, then that's obviously a concern. The one question I wanted to ask you guys is that everyone always talks about how great our offensive line is, but I always take a look at the simple fact that if we didn't have Josh as been such an able running quarterback, I feel as though that we'd probably give 3 to 5 sacks of every single game. He gets us out of a lot of different things. I don't know what the statistics are on the offensive side of the ball, but it seems as though we probably average 2 to 3 penalties a game on the offensive side, and usually we're having holding penalties and so forth. I just wanted to get your thoughts on it. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure. I mean, I think their line is excellent. I don't know. I don't have anything but that to say. I can get you PFF grades. I'm not even sure you're going to care about that, but I think consensus is their line is excellent. Allen covers up a lot of deficiencies in general, relative term around the offense, but no.
Their guys, their tackles don't get beat a lot. The middle is sound. They're athletic. They're powerful. Yeah, and they're all set. Like, they're all under contract, and the backups are all under contract. That doesn't say at all that I think they won't pick someone as a depth piece at some point when we get to the draft, but I'd be stunning to me if it's any kind of a priority. Look, they're in great shape there.
Did you have a bet on Marquette Xavier today?
I did not.
All right, I'm not surprised.
How'd it go?
It is March.
Why do you ask?
Marquette was favored by 2.5, up 5. Xavier inbounds the ball and just launches a half-court shot, goes in.
Sweet.
To cover.
Yeah.
That's what we live for.
Nice.
Those are the beats you never forget.
Good times.
They're the wins that you love, but you do forget.
Sure.
The beats are what you remember.
Yep.
But good on you if you had Xavier. You're wrong, mostly, because they were not going to cover this game, but they had a half-court shot and covered it.
Right. No, that's
really
absolutely
wrong.
right. Yeah, last winter, not this past winter, but the one before that, when Trista was in town and we all went out, and a part of that night was that I hit a 4-leg NHL parlay. and it was like a $900 win on a $10 bet. And it wasn't something I was like riding all night. Like I knew I had the bet, but I wasn't really paying attention to it. We were out watching football and just hanging out. And then I looked late in the last game, and I already had the other three, and the last game was maybe 2-1, and I just needed to get that to the garage, and I did. And I can't tell you, St. Louis, I'm pretty sure I could look. I have it. Like they keep that. It's in my app somewhere. I think St. Louis was the last team I needed to win, but I'm not sure, and I don't know who they were playing, and I have no idea who the other three wins were. If that had gone the other way, like if St. Louis had lost to whoever they were playing, I would know the name of that team and who scored the goals and all the other three bets.
Right.
But it was a win, and okay, great. I think that was the Blues. Good job, Blues.
It's funny that way. It's really not how life should be.
No.
You want to enjoy. Marv Levy used to say this about football. Like the losses hurt more than the wins are enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's really not how life should be. How do we fix that? Now, it's not going to be true of everybody.
That's right.
It takes effort, though.
It does. You have to really work at it.
They always say, with kids, it goes by so fast. My kids are teenagers now. I know. That's true. But there were literally many times when I was with them, where I've been with them, it's still present, when I've been with them, and, I'm at a sporting event, or we're on vacation or somewhere, and I think this is what you mean when you say that. Like, these moments are the ones. So I would sort of, not physically, but, stare at the moment. Like, okay, I'd better... I put the pressure on myself. I better get the most satisfaction out of this moment with my children because it's going to be the thing that I miss. I don't know though if that made any difference. Being cognizant of the moment, does it help? I mean, I feel like that thing that everybody says when you have kids is right. It's valid. I did my best, I thought about it. I'm sitting there on a beach with them or something. Like, okay, focus up here.
Remember this.
This is not going to last.
Right.
But even that is sort of like stress. That's for you out there if anybody wants to process that and weigh in.
We need a break.
Brian Koziol after sports here on WGR.
We know you can't hear.
A majority of the Bills' free agent signings have become official today, and many more of them also spoke today with the media, including Joey Bosa, Josh Palmer, and Derek Forrest. If you do want to hear any of that, you can find it on the Odyssey app or on our website, WGR550.com. Sabres have a few days off. They won't be back in action again until Saturday when they host Las Vegas. They did fall, though, to Detroit 7-3. Our own Paul Hamilton has more on that up at our website, WGR550.com. And we'll hear more on the Sabres and also the players at TBC Sawgrass, which is underway, as Brian Koziel, host of Tee to Green, joins the show next. And for more on the players later on this week, do tune in to Tee to Green this Saturday right here on WGR from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. live from Western New York's PGA headquarters. And then in college basketball, UB women, they advance to the MAC semifinal after last night's win. They're going to take on Toledo tomorrow at 12:30. And then St. Bonaventure earlier today took down Duquesne 64-59. They will now take on the number one seed in the A10, VCU, tomorrow at 11:30 in the quarterfinals. That's Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of business. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Raymond holds it. Larkin's got Kane now in that spot near the net. There's a shot. Scores! Seider. The Red Wings have put up 7 on the Sabres at 7-3 with 5:29 to go in the third.
More enjoyable conversation, the Sabres right now or the Players' Championship? Where do you think we should lean here with Brian Koziel, host of Tee to Green on Saturday mornings on WGR, and also almost always our post-game host. Brian, would you have gone into broadcasting if you knew this would be the Sabres post-game life? Would you? I mean, you're also a teacher, at least, so you have that.
I probably would not have signed up for 14 consecutive seasons of broadcasting meaningless games in the second half of the year. I guess if I knew it was going to be laid out to me that way. Every year I get sucked back in with some sort of reason of like, oh, well, they changed coaches, so maybe that. Or, you know what, they got the number one pick again, or they changed GMs, or, you know, I guess this year was, oh, look, they got a new scoreboard. That'll keep me entertained for a while. Like, I don't know.
They got Lindy.
Right.
Yes, they got Lindy. That's right. That was supposed to be the change. And in some ways, he improved upon what they didn't do well last year. They were terrible at starting games last year, and now they're one of the best first-period teams, and you know, I guess they were terrible at home. He says, we're going to improve our home record. Well, they improved that too. But the problem is the other things that they were actually somewhat decent at last season, that all went by the wayside. They're bad on the road. They finish games terribly. They blow leads. And their goaltender last year that maybe we thought might be a number one goalie now looks very below average. So I guess you can't have it all at the same time with this franchise.
Right. You mentioned the scoreboard. Did you happen to see? I mean, you know, it's hard to stay creative and funny when it's been this bad for this long. But I saw like screenshots of Skinner watching his video, and someone captioned "first player in NHL history to watch his tribute video on a scoreboard he was traded for."
I did see that. That was hilarious. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, he gave the big Skinner grin like always, yeah. But yeah, that was a perfect caption for that picture for sure.
Yeah. Well, yeah, things, you know, last night obviously got off the rails. I mean, they scored late to, you know, in the second to, you know, okay, going in the third period, and then just the wheels came flying off. The one thing I think you could maybe take away from the game is they seem to have gotten the memo about defending one another, at least mostly. I still got big problems with Matthias Samuelsson sort of just waiting around like, dude, people are mad at you about this thing. Just grab a little guy and start hammering away, and we'll love you again. But they were pretty eager, I think, to defend themselves a number of times last night.
I would agree. I mean, the Bryson hit definitely was a questionable one, and Tuck ran right over and got into a fight with that. I mean, ultimately, I would probably say the biggest responses were from probably two guys that we might even want them to shy away from, like dropping the gloves, and that was Tuck and then later Thompson.
Yeah.
When Norris kind of got shoved to the ice. But, you know, I guess you can't fault those two for doing it, and we always are calling them out for not sticking up for each other. So Thompson and Tuck led the way. Benson's in there taking on like three guys. In that scrum when Norris got pushed down and Thompson kind of got it started, Benson was in there.
Yeah.
But that's the one that I also noticed Samuelsson too.
Yeah, right.
He's like just kind of like drifting there, and
right.
He kind of like I guess puts like an arm on the shoulder of Kane, and I'm like, look, you're not Catcher Kane's not going to fight you, but I mean, try to at least like, pull on the jersey a little of somebody here just to make it look like you're at least invested in it.
Really want to see that. Go back and watch it. Benson goes around the pile to get to where Thompson is. Because Thompson, you can see it right away. Like, Thompson is eager. He drops the gloves, but he loses his balance right away, and he's in a bad place. He's on his back with a guy on top of him. And Benson is like eager to get, like, he's heady. He knows, like, that's the guy I got to go save or at least help. And yeah, Samuelson's just watching it all, like, oh, is anyone gonna? I mean, just dude, I'm done. Like, I don't like to overreact to that stuff, but that's a couple of times this year, and especially with what happened, whenever the first Thompson thing was against Jersey, to have that again last night, and just like the light's never gonna go on. That's just not acceptable at all. Like, I don't need you to be beating people up all the time, but geez, show up. Exactly you're 6'3", 220. Like, do something.
Right. You're not going to get hurt, and you, like you said, you don't have to necessarily start just flailing away at people to get the respect that maybe we're all looking for here. But just look like you are engaged in that situation and aware of that situation. That, look, I'm bigger than anybody else on the ice here, and Detroit's got a lot of guys that aren't going to do any damage to me. At least get in there and pull on a jersey, hug somebody hard, like push them down, like something. And after that, Thompson had a high hit against New Jersey when everybody said this will never happen again. Dahlin said it, and Samuelson even himself owned up to saying that was bad. I can't believe that a guy that wears a letter that size. I know the NHL is still not what it was years ago, but still there has to be some sort of feeling that, like, you are just there for each other in some sense. I don't care what sport this is, and he just doesn't seem like he wants to buy into that. I don't know if because he's had injury history, if he's very, very gung-shy about doing any of that, or if it's just not in his makeup. But it's not a very good look, again, for the biggest guy on the ice that wears a letter, to me, to just seem like he would almost rather do anything other than get involved. He tries, it looks like in some sense, just to avoid that at all costs.
No argument from me. To the golf. So, big sort of packed leaderboard, 6 under, 5 under, 4 under. I've got 10, 11 guys there. Scheffler at 3. What stands out, if anything, here, Brian? Is it that the scores are this low or no?
Yeah, I think that there's some impressive scores there. There's a lot of players, as you said, all bunched up here together. There's a little bit of a flashback of maybe like a decade ago with the two guys at the top with Villegas and Glover. I mean, these are guys that have been, working hard just to stay on the PGA Tour. Villegas himself had so many off-the-course issues with injuries and issues with his babies, not even not doing well on life support and all this sort of thing. So I mean, like, he's had a whole life off the course that he's been dealing with. And Glover, who of course is a former U.S. Open champion, he won at Bethpage, has been a good player, but he's a guy that if he disappeared for 5 months in a row and then came back, like it wouldn't be surprising. That's just kind of, I think, where those two are at their career. But McIlroy, to me, still is always interesting to talk about, always interesting to watch. He just made 4 birdies in a row here just before he came up and parred his last hole. So he's right in the mix. Batia's a young player that I think is pretty likable, a lefty guy that I thought was in the mix quite a bit last year. So, and this stage at this course is one that I think makes this tournament great because even if you're just a casual fan of golf, you at least likely know how this course finishes with the wild par 5 on 16, the famous island on 17, and then the extremely tough 18th hole where you're driving it around a pond that wraps all the way around. So it's a good finish. I think when the course, it makes for even better drama, and the course looks just perfect on TV too, which I think is great. But Scheffler's right in it. McIlroy's right in it. I mean, those are probably two of the biggest names that people would want to watch as much as possible.
Yeah, the course has so much to do with it here. I mean, obviously the field. I mean, it's long been talked about as the unofficial 5th major. Isn't that right?
Yep.
So I totally get that now. I don't think before I got really active playing myself and watching golf almost every weekend, regardless of whether it's, the Mexico Open or whether it's the Players Championship. I'm watching the golf on Saturday and Sunday at some point or another because that switch has been flipped for me. this now I feel it feels bigger than Arnold Palmer's thing even last week, which was bigger than any of the other stuff, the Valero and all that. So I kind of get, I guess, for the first time, the fifth major idea, because this feels big.
Yeah, this is the PGA Tour's biggest event. I know sometimes people forget, like, the PGA Tour itself, like, they don't run the Masters, they don't run the U.S. Open. The I know the letters PGA makes it confusing. The PGA Championship's not even run by the PGA Tour. That's the PGA of America. Those are all the golf pros across the country that run that event. So this is their biggest stage. This is their biggest purse of the season, and it's their strongest field that you'd get on any PGA Tour event. So, yeah, I think that's what makes it extra special at this course, that every year they seem to make the stage have a grander feel, the stadium kind of feel around some of these holes here at the end with how they built up some of the grandstands and things like that. So, I think it's really, really good theater. Even the fact that you've got some storylines coming in, like no one has ever three-peated in a row at this event. So Scheffler's got a chance to do that. This, of course, last year was where Scheffler was like in the midst of starting his dominating run. He had already won twice coming in, including at the Arnold Palmer, and then he won here, and then he went on to win at the Masters. So he was really, really going. Officially this year, you'd say maybe Scheffler's down, even though he's had a couple of top fives already, because he hasn't won in 2025. I know he hasn't played a ton of events, but out of the handful that he does, he still hasn't won yet. So probably for his standard, maybe he's off to a slow start, I guess you'd say, for his season.
All that winning, and then it was only that traffic incident at the PGA Championship that upended his momentum, if you will. Brian, thanks. Might want to check in with you tomorrow if you have a few minutes.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys. We'll set it up.
Okay. Brian Koziel on the West Her Hotline. PGA Players Championship, I should say. Sawgrass ongoing. One guy just made a triple on the Island Green, which is not an island. I live on an island. You can't get off the island without that bridge, without swimming. This, I believe, would be a peninsula or something, where you don't have to take a bridge.
Maybe they should replace that strip of land that leads to the green with a bridge.
With a bridge. Then
it would truly be an island.
That's right. Then you would have it. That's right. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here. Back after this. This is WGR.
More of Schopp and the
Ever click on a tweet?
No.
Okay. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, 803-0550. Ever click on a tweet and...
I already answered this question.
Hang on, I'm not done. And the first comment, you're not even necessarily there for the comments, but it's still on, it fits on the screen, says, this post is from an account you muted.
Sure.
And then you kind of want to, you're kind of curious, right? Like, I wonder if I will remember this person.
I remember why I muted you?
And, so often it's like, yep. Just from the first one post.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Either like, oh, yeah, that guy. Or just like, I get it.
Yeah, right.
I can see why I made that decision.
Similar theme to what probably got me to mute in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That just happened to me yesterday.
Yeah.
Bulldog, who is Evan Silva on the show tomorrow? Who is your 105 in fantasy drafts so far this year? How are you starting your drafts? Who's your 101? Who is your 101 for next year right now? You so want to swear?
No. This is it's a football question. I just don't. Jamar Chase.
Correct. He's the consensus 101.
I just have no. I don't know.
It goes Chase, Barkley, Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs usually, and then you've got a pile of receivers where it's like pick your favorite: Puka, Nico Collins, Jefferson, Lamb. So I'm going with Lamb. Lamb is my answer. I'm not going with Cooper Kupp for this question.
No.
So Cooper Kupp is a free agent, and Mike Giardi has been on the show a lot out of Boston because the Patriots were reported to have interest. I mean, they have interest in every receiver. What they have is Mac Hollins at this point to show for it. But that the Patriots wanted him, and Mike has a source, I think, saying that some feel that Kupp's asking price is insane.
Outrageous for where he is in his career right now. Yeah.
Guess what?
Somebody will pay it.
Josh Palmer got $12 million a year. De'Ami Brown got $10 million. What's Cooper Kupp then? Like PFF wise, he graded okay last year. He's gotten older. I mean, you can't ignore that. But I don't know. Like maybe he'll get a contract that the same people will think is insane. I wouldn't rule it out.
Yeah. I don't seek out the grades a lot. I appreciate when they cross my feed. I saw something about him, like his percentage of getting open on like whatever,
Warren Sharp,
severely deteriorated the last 2 seasons.
Yeah.
So that's 'cause, like if that's your secret sauce and that's going the wrong way, yeah, I'm out.
Yeah.
So
it's just like if he wanted a contract like Joshua Palmer got, is he crazy for wanting that? He was the best receiver in the league 3 years ago. But it's a long time ago, right?
Yeah, I think he is. I think if the Bills had given Kupp the contract they gave Palmer, I don't think I'd be happy at all.
Really?
Yeah.
I think it would. I'm glad they didn't because he doesn't. They have Shakir, right? But I wouldn't at all be surprised by Kupp getting that somewhere. Doug Farrar seems to be very into the Dolphins signing of Nick Westbrook-Akine. Likes him a lot.
Saw that. Yeah.
For much less. 2 for $6.5.
Yeah.
I think that was. Gardner Minshew has a new team.
Oh, boy, I haven't seen.
We talked about him recently. Would he have a chance to start again? So Jacksonville, Philadelphia, which I had forgotten about until we talked about him recently, then Indianapolis, and then last year Las Vegas, where he did start for both of those teams.
I'm going to say he went to Tennessee.
Chiefs.
Awesome.
Will he have a chance to start? Will he have a chance to compete? I believe that's what he said today after getting the job with the Chiefs. I'm just glad to have a chance to compete.
I'm glad to come in and throw my hat in the ring.
I'm not expecting to just be given the job. He said. It'd be hilarious if he did say that, to be funny. We talked to Sam Panayotovich earlier today about college basketball, a lot of NFL, different things. Good conversation. We'll have that for you next. And then Joey Bosa, his first news conference with the Bills. That's coming up. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.